Read the article, then answer questions 42 through 47. Henry Ford. Henry Ford and his inventions helped change America and the world. Ford was born on his family's farm outside of Detroit, Michigan. The date was July 30, 1863. Ford did not receive much schooling. He did attend a one-room school for 8 years. He would miss school when his father needed help to harvest crops. At the age of 16, Ford went to Detroit. He began work in machine shops. That was where Ford's education really began. When Ford returned to his family's farm, he also got a part-time job at the Westinghouse Engine Company. On the side, Ford tinkered in a small machine shop that he had built. He stayed for 8 years until he married Clara Bryant. They moved to Detroit. Their only child, Edsel, was born in 1893. Ford began work at the Detroit Edison Company. He was the chief engineer and was on call 24 hours a day. His job was to keep the electric power to the city going. Despite this responsibility, Ford found time to experiment. He wanted to build a gas-powered vehicle. Other inventors were producing cars at this time too. They kept the cars they invented. Ford had a different idea. When he made a car, he sold it. This enabled Ford to build another car, which he would sell. Then he had the money to produce another car. With the backing of others, Ford set up a car company in 1899. His backers wanted Ford to produce and sell lots of cars. Ford had a different idea. He kept improving the cars and refused to sell them until he was ready. This did not please his backers, who included some of the richest men in Detroit. Finally, in 1903, Henry Ford was ready to produce cars. He formed the Ford Motor Company. His backers this time were not rich men. They were people of modest means, like Ford. His great success came in 1908 with the Model T. One reason for its success was that it was affordable. Working people were able to buy cars. They stopped riding horses. I got distracted there. They stopped riding horses. People were traveling farther and farther. Cities and towns grew because it was easier to get around them. Highways began to connect cities across the nation. Ford worked hard to make sure the Model T was affordable. He fine-tuned the assembly lines at his factories to make them more efficient. Ford's company was able to produce a Model T every 24 seconds. Also, he paid his workers almost twice as much as other car companies did. They could earn enough money to buy a Model T, and they did. In 19 years, more than 15 million Model Ts were sold in the United States. This passage is definitely a sequence line. And it is shown here, the major dates in blue on this sequence line. Just to review, in October of 1908, Ford produced the Model T. In January 5th, 1914, Ford Motor Company begins to pay $5 an hour for an 8-hour day. So you could make $40 a day. In November 24, 1915, Ford announces his plan to end World War I. He will sell a, quote, peace ship to Europe to persuade countries to end their fight. May 26, 1927, the last Model T is produced. And Mr. Ford died on April 7th of 1947. And here are the questions. What happened in 1927? So I'm going to look back. There's the date. The last Model T is produced. This is one of those questions that you really cannot afford to miss. It's right there. You just have to look back. What happened before Henry Ford began work at the Detroit Edison Company? So I'm going to look at my text. I'm going to scan very quickly for Detroit Edison Company. And I see it right here. We want to know what was happening before that. So we're going to look up here to find that. He didn't receive much schooling. He went to Detroit, worked in machine shops. He returned to his family farm. He worked at Westinghouse Engine. He got married and moved to Detroit, and they had a child. So let's see which one of these. He got married and moved to Detroit. So I just look back, I scan that article, just get the idea in my mind, and then I can answer the question. Why was the production of the Model T car important? I am going to read the choices here. It helped Ford build a, quote, peace ship. Working people were able to buy Model T cars. Rich people wanted to become Ford's backers. The Ford Motor Company had finally produced a car. The reason the Model T was different is that working people were able to buy it. Read the sentence. They were people of modest means like Ford. Modest means average, medium. They weren't wealthy, but they weren't poor. They were working people. Which of these words means the opposite of modest as it's used in this sentence? Happy, creative, shy, or rich? The rich were wanting to be the backers, but instead Ford chose the modest means folks. The opposite of modest in this situation is rich. Which detail best supports the idea that Ford's inventions helped change America? Other inventors began producing cars too. Cities and towns began to be connected by highways. Ford built a peace ship that ended a war. Or it took a long time for Ford to build a car. Now we're interested in the one that changed America. The peace ship was dedicated to the world. That was a world war. So that one I can rule out. How did Ford's inventions change America? Well, when people had cars, they needed roads to drive on. So cities and towns began to be connected. Which text structure does the writer use in paragraph 6? So let's look back at paragraph 6. That is this one. And we want to know the type of text structure. The writer is telling us that his greatest success, meaning Ford's, came with the Model T. And then he goes on to tell me why it was successful. It was affordable. Working people were able to buy cars. Horses stopped running in the streets. People were traveling farther and farther. Cities and towns grew because it was easier to get around. and highways connected the nation. So that's not really a sequence. It's not really a problem because there was no problem. It's cause and effect. Ford created the Model T, and then all of these other things began to happen. And let me see if I see any clue words. The word reason is a clue that we have, cause and effect. Because is a cause and effect word. Was there any more? You get a reason, and then, you get a cause, which is a reason, and then a lot of effects that happened because of that cause. And that brings us to the end of the practice test. Again, if you got 37 or more questions correct, you can consider this a mastered test. If you did not get those correct, let your teacher know. I was going to check my book to see if there is, yes. Your teacher can make you a copy of page 95 of the textbook, and that will allow you to figure out which lessons you need to review. So bring your practice test to your teacher and ask for the item analysis chart in the textbook. It's on page 95 of your book. And if you print that chart, mark the ones that you got incorrect, it will tell you which lessons to review so that you can review before you try the final test. Okay, I will see you in one more series of videos, but that is only after you attempt the final test. And it will only unlock those videos after you submit your final test. So hopefully you have practiced and you are ready. When you feel ready, log into Schoology and take that final exam. I have enjoyed working with you in this course, and I hope you've learned a lot. There are other courses available if you like studying at home. Again, please talk with your instructor with any questions you may have. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.